Welcome to a new lesson, polynomials of the form x squared plus bx plus c. Let's take a look at an example. Expand and simplify the following factored form polynomials. So let's take a look at this x minus 4 first times x plus 2. What we are going to do is we are going to distribute this in this manner. We're going to multiply the x with the x first. When we do that, we get x squared. Then we're going to multiply the x with the second term in the second bracket. It's 2 times x is 2x. And then we're going to multiply the negative 4 with the x, following the arrows. We'll get negative 4x. And then we're going to multiply negative 4 with the positive 2. And we will get negative 8, because negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. And this is called the expansion. So we just expanded. Then we're going to simplify. And simplifying is that we're going to collect like terms. The 2x and the 4x are like terms because they have the same type of variables, the same type of letters. The x squared is not the same term because it has a squared. So we're going to copy down x squared, and we're going to add 2 with negative 4. 2 and negative 4 gives you negative 2. Copy down the x, and copy down the negative 8. And our answer, when we simplify and we expand, is x squared minus 2x minus 8. Now what we're going to do is we are going to expand part b. So we have 8 minus b times 3 minus b, and we're going to follow the same procedure of expansion. So first we're going to multiply 8 with a 3. Notice I'm writing an equal sign on the left-hand side. I want you to also do that. So 8 times 3 is 24. And draw the arrows. It makes it easier for you. And then we multiply 8 with negative b. This will give us negative 8b. Then we're going to multiply negative b with 3, which gives you negative 3b. And negative b, we're going to multiply with negative b. Negative times negative is a positive. And b times b is b squared, not 2b. So we just expanded again. Now we're going to collect like terms. Notice that negative 8b and 3b are like terms because they have the same variable. And negative 8 plus negative 3 is negative 11, and we copy the b down. Then we copy the b squared as well. And this is our solution. Usually we write the solution in what's called descending order. That means we usually put the biggest power of variables first. And we're going to start doing that. And then we'll put the other term, which is the b term, 11b, and then plus 24. This is called the descending order of powers. And this is your answer. Let's take a look at a different example. We're going to factor now each trinomial. So we're going to factor this x squared minus 2x minus 8. What factoring means is that we're going to find two polynomials that factor together and multiply together to get x squared minus 2x minus 4. And there's a specific procedure that we're going to use. We're going to ask what two identical values add to the middle term, which is negative 2, and we're going to forget about the x, so it's negative 2, and what two identical values multiply to negative 8. Those values have to be identical. This is called the sum and product. The sum and product, or SP or PS, P&S. And we ask ourselves, what two values do that? Usually, we ask ourselves what two factors are of 8. Those are 1 and 8, 2 and 6, sorry, not 2 and 6, but 2 and 4. And which of them add up to get negative 2? Well, it has to be 4 minus 2, or 2 minus 4. So our answers are 2 and 4. And then we have to watch the signs. 2 plus 4 is actually 6, but 2 minus, or 2 plus negative 4 is negative 2. And 2 times 4 is actually 8. That's why it has to be negative. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Now, where do these values go? They go into the bracket. The 2 goes first, then the negative. And now we fill in with whatever the variable we're using. Well, in this case we're using x, so we fill in the x. And I'm going to use the x as below. And since 2 is positive, it's going to be positive. So it's x plus 2 and x minus 4 are our factors. The next thing we're going to do is z, or part B of the questions. I'll leave some space. And so again, I'm just going to write a little bit bigger so you can see. With the same procedure, we're going to ask, so what two factors multiply to get this polynomial, z squared minus 12z plus 35. Again, same procedure, what two values add up to the middle term, which is negative 12, and what two values multiply to get to the last term, which is 35. So again, we ask ourselves, okay, 35, what are factors of 35? How about 7 and 5? And that's pretty much it, 35 and 1. Well, 7 plus 5 is 12. So we could write 7 and 5, 7 and 5. But we have to double check, because 7 plus 5 is not negative 12. But 7 times 5 is 35. So what's the problem? Because it's of the negatives. We have to put negatives for negative 7 and negative 5, because negative 7 plus negative 5 is negative 12. And negative 7 times negative 5 is 35. Negative times negative is a positive. Now we check that over so that it does make sense to us. So negative 7, negative 5 goes into the bracket, and then because the z is the variable, we're going to use the z as the variable. Now, what's important is that you should be able to verify, does this actually work? One way to verify is to expand. And just for checking your answers, let's verify this, that indeed that this is the answer. I'm just going to erase some of the stuff right there, some of the work, and let's verify. And we verify by, again, expansion. So we're going to multiply z with a z and z with the negative 5. So we will get z squared minus 5z. Then we're going to, again, expand. Negative 7 times z, that's 7z. And multiply negative 7 with negative 5, which will give us a positive 35. Then we're going to collect like terms. We'll get z squared minus, well, we have to collect these two. So negative 5 minus 7 is negative 12z plus 35. And this is your verification. This is exactly the same thing as we see in the question. So we have verified. And check mark. Let's take a look at a different problem. We're going to factor trinomial within ascending order. I don't like ascending order, so what I want you to do is change the order right away. So d squared plus, not plus but negative, so minus 5d minus 24. So I'm going to change that order all completely. So that way, we'll have no problem in answering the question again. So it's the same thing as before. What two things multiply to get the following polynomial? Again, you set it up. What two values add up to the middle term, which is negative 5? to the last term, which is negative 24. And again, you're thinking of factors, which of 24, so 24 and 1. That will give you 5 if you add them. What about 8 and 3? Oh, 8 and 3 will work. So let's put 8 and 3, 8 and 3, and ask yourself, well, 8 plus 3 is not negative 5, so one of them has to be negative. Well, probably the larger has to be negative because the 5 is negative. And negative 8 times 3 is negative 24. So that works for us. And our solution is d minus 8 and d plus 3. And for good sense purposes, I'm going to just make sure it's nice color coordinated. If you do not want to change the order around, you could solve this question pretty much the same way, except you just have to be careful. So let's re-copy the same question, and again, it's about what two factors multiply, and now it's a little bit different. Is what two values add up, what two values multiply, and now the addition is still the same term, but multiplication now it's the first term, not the last term. Negative 24, like so. So we still get the same values, negative 8 and 3, negative 8 and 3, but now we put those values first. So it's negative 8 and 3, and we add them to the d. We add them to the d. Notice that this answer and this answer looks different, but really it's pretty much the same thing. It's so this factor is the same as that. It's just the order of d and 8 has been changed, and the d plus 3 or 3 plus d, it's the same thing except the order has changed. Remember, when using BEDMAS or in addition, 2 plus 3 is the same thing as 3 plus 2. Let's take a look at our last problem. In this case, we're going to factor a trinomial with a common factor and a binomial factor. Before you do any factoring, such as in this problem, you should always ask yourself, is there a greatest common factor, GCF, of the negative 4, the negative 16, and the 128? What is the greatest common factor is what value can you divide by to reduce the whole thing. It's usually the leading coefficient. Leading coefficient is usually the value in front of t squared. That's the leading coefficient. So I'm just going to write it out. Leading coefficient. So ask yourself, what about the leading coefficient? Can I divide this by negative 4 and get a non-decimal value? Okay, so let's say I factor this out, and what I get if negative 4 divided by negative 4? I get t squared. Negative 16 divided by negative 4, I get 4t. And negative 128 divided by 4, negative 4 is negative 32. Notice that this, it does work for us. Sometimes it won't work, but maybe we divide by 2 in certain cases. But always ask yourself, can leading coefficient, can you get rid of it by dividing everything by itself? But it doesn't just go away. It doesn't disappear. It's still one of the factors. And it's right here. It's one of the factors. So this is a factor. Why it's a factor? Because it's a multiplication. It multiplies with everything else. Again, you ask yourself, okay, well, what's the other procedure? What else do we have to do? Well, the middle is the trinomial, and we're going to use the same procedures in example 3, and if you want to look at example 3 right there, we're going to use the same procedure. What two values multiply? So I think it was add first. What two values add to get to the middle term? In this case, it's negative 4. What two values multiply to get to the last term, which is negative 32. And then again, you should ask about the factors, and it's going to be 8 and 4. 8 times 4 is 32. So 8 and 4, 8 and 4. But it's not going to be positive 8 and 4 because 8 plus 4 is actually 12. And it's going to be negative 8. And negative 8 plus 4 is negative 4. Negative 8 times 4 is negative 32. Negative times a positive is a negative. So now we take these negative 8s, put them in the first bracket, 4 in the second bracket, and whatever the t or the variable we're using, we're going to put that right in the bracket. And this is our totally complete factor of our question. And here we go. So this is a little bit different way to find the greatest common factor. We look at the leading coefficient and see if we could divide each term by this leading coefficient.